all of the streams, 651-646-8255. And we've got plenty of reaction to Kirk Cousins, to the Vikings win over the Eagles, Danny. We've got a Twitter poll question of the day. Our Twitter handle, of course, Score North. But because this show is Vikings Ventline, and because Ben called before the show even started, we go right to the phone lines and we go to Ben. Hi, Ben.
Hey, guys. So I know there's going to be some talk over the hour about feeling differently about this team and Kirk Cousins.
Yeah.
I feel slightly better, not a lot better, but I'm looking over the next several weeks before the bye. These are all winnable games. Kansas City does not look very strong right now.
Mm-hmm.
I have no idea what's going on in Dallas because that's an awful loss to New York.
Mm-hmm.
There's a very good chance they can win their next several games before the bye week. And coming out of the bye week, I think they have 3 of their next 5 games at home. So I feel a little. I will tell you this: 4-2 is a lot better situation than 2-2 or where they were earlier. But I'm excited about the Lions game. I think if they win the Lions, they could be getting into the driver's seat for the division title, and who knows what happens after that.
Ben, let me ask you this. Do you feel better about this team more so because of what Kirk Cousins did yesterday, or do you feel better about the upcoming couple of weeks because of what other teams have looked like that are on their schedule?
I think it's a little bit of both. Cousins put together back-to-back strong games. But like I said, we'll see how he plays against the Lions. But it's a little bit of both. Like I think we all pigeonholed it. I think we all thought that Kansas City was just an automatic loss.
Yep.
They have not looked very good lately. Dallas, I'm not sure what's going on with Dallas. But they got Denver coming up. They should be able to win that game. They have the bye week. The toughest game to me, the tell-all game for this team, will be the Monday night coming out of the bye against Seattle. But I think that will tell us everything we really need to know about this team. That and the Lions game on the road. So
thanks, Ben.
Yeah.
Appreciate the call. All right, which leads to the question. The Vikings left Chicago at 2-2.
Yes.
And
not in a great place.
I was going to say, Danny Cunningham, I think it's fair to say that for a team that was not below 500 but was 2-2, it felt like they were in a really bad place.
Yeah.
I don't think I'm going too far in saying because Stephon Diggs didn't show up for practice the following Monday and Wednesday, or didn't show up to meet with the team as well, because they don't really practice on Monday, that it's not an overstatement to say that I felt like this team was at a crossroads.
Yeah.
And that it could go very bad very quick.
That's a very understandable way to feel. I think that's probably how most people felt, if not more extreme than you.
So they beat the Giants, and the Giants are bad at football. But that was a nice win because it was necessary.
Yes.
Cousins got his confidence back. The team played well. The Giants are crappy, but they came at the perfect time.
Mm-hmm.
But what yesterday did for me was the first Viking win. And we've talked about this after almost every win. Now, the Falcons game, we didn't know at that time that the Falcons were this bad.
Yes.
But Oakland, we said, okay, great, you beat Oakland. But Oakland quit in the second quarter. Show us something, right?
Yeah.
The Giants game, you said, okay, that's a nice win for you at this time, but that team stinks at football, which is supposed to be their profession. This was the first win, and Philadelphia has its faults. I'm not saying that they don't. That secondary is a mess. Pass defense, not good. Play calling, which we could talk about at some point during the course of Ventline, baffling at times. All of that being said, though, Philadelphia is not a dumpster fire. They are a nice team. They went into Green Bay on a Thursday night a few weeks ago, beat the Packers. This was a win where I came away and said, this, from the quarterback on down, this showed me something.
Yeah.
How much different do you feel about the quarterback and about this team now, 2 weeks after the Chicago game, than we did at that time, where we all agreed that this could be a very important time? Because if you go and lose to the Giants or Philadelphia, you're saying to yourself, is this a playoff team or what?
So I'm not ready to totally jump into the lake of belief, I guess is what I'll call it. But I'm dipping my toe in the water.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to believe a little bit more. I'm starting to think that this team is maybe Kirk Cousins has figured something out after the last 2 weeks. I need to see a little bit more of it, but yesterday was very, very impressive from him. And I think the thing that most impressed me, not only from him, but from this team as a whole, is things got a little dicey when they were up 24-3. And the next thing you know, it's 24-17. Philadelphia came back and made it a very close game. And then that could have gone one of two ways. The Eagles could have continued that comeback and came back and tied the game or taken the lead, or what did happen, the Vikings could have went out and stepped on their throats. And that was impressive to see because I didn't know how this team was going to act to adversity at home. And they reacted in the way that you absolutely wanted them to. So I was impressed with yesterday. I was impressed with everything that I had a question about in terms of Kirk Cousins, Stephon Diggs bouncing back from what he's been dealing with. Everything. I came away impressed after watching that Vikings game.
In fact, let's start the conversation of the offense's play on Sunday with this guy.
Yeah, it's great to have depth at any position. I think a big reason why Adam has success is because you have Stephon. Big reason why Stephon has 3 touchdowns today is because they have to defend Adam. You want depth at every position. I mean, Josh Klein was out today, so the ability to have depth at the guard position is a big deal, that Dakota Dozier can go in there and we don't feel like we need to miss a beat or change our play calling to protect him. We know he can stand up and get the job done, and that helps us go forward without, losing any steam. So depth is critical. The running back position is no different.
Kirk Cousins in that game on Sunday, Danny Cunningham, was 22 of 29 for 333 yards, sacked once. Offensive line, by the way, I thought played very well.
Yeah.
4 touchdowns. The first went to Thielen, obviously. The next 3 went to Stephon Diggs. 1 pick, which was tipped actually by Diggs into the hands of Sendejo. I would say this. Kirk Cousins, to me, played one of, if not the best, games that we have seen him play that the Vikings have won, because the Rams game you lost. So I don't care if you pass for 400 yards. If you lose, it's a loss.
I mean, this might be his best performance in a Vikings win. That might have been the best day of the Kirk Cousins era so far.
Week 5 against Philadelphia in Philadelphia last year was 301 yards and 1 touchdown. It was very good, impressive. But I agree. This might be his best game. And this might be, and for a guy who threw 10 passes in week 1, and at that point you're saying, what's the plan here?
Yeah.
Right? And I wasn't even panicked or upset about it, but you did say, okay, if you are throwing 10 passes, the confidence from the coaching staff is clearly not high here.
Well, and that wasn't a recipe for long-term success.
Exactly. But when you go yesterday's game plan, and I'll start with Stefanski and Kubiak as well. To me, yesterday's game plan was the first time where we said in 2019, offensively, that game plan works.
Yes. The very first time. They looked like the offense you expect them to look like yesterday. They looked like a team that should be a top 10 offensive team. Their quarterback finally looked like a quarterback that's been worth the money he's being paid. And that hasn't been the case last year or this year until now. But I think that yesterday's game could be a stepping stone for them to get much better, for them to maybe start to ride a little bit of momentum. And Detroit's not going to be as easy, I don't think, as yesterday, but you do get Detroit on a short week. They play tonight, and that's a bit of an advantage there.
And I don't think they're fantastic. I think they're
better than expected. They're not great,
exactly,
but they're better than expected.
But the caller's exactly right too, Danny. If you look at this schedule now, and I am assuring nothing here because this league is weird and it's week to week, and teams will play a game like the Vikings did, which was impressive against Philadelphia on Sunday, and then they'll come back and fall flat the next week. But if you look at this schedule now, and this is why when the schedule comes out in April, or heck, even in before the year starts in the summer, it's so difficult to make predictions because when you look at things like this, Kansas City, at one time I was saying they got no chance there. Do I think they're going to win that game still? No. Do I think that they should have a fighting chance? Absolutely no.
Yeah.
Dallas started off pretty well, right? And you're like, ooh, that's going to be tough at Dallas. If I'm not mistaken, they not only lost to the Jets on Sunday, but they lost 3 consecutive games now, right?
Yeah.
This whole schedule
surprise me necessarily
looks different
if the Vikings are favored in that game at this point. The way things are going for Dallas right now, that wouldn't be the most shocking thing.
Coaching change perhaps there too?
I mean, you never know with that franchise.
I don't think they'll be favored, but they've got a chance. They've got a chance there. They've got a chance. I'm not saying that they're going to win, but against Kansas City, if their defense plays well, which their defense, to go back to that, that's a staple.
But let me ask you the same thing I asked Ben. Do you feel better about those games because of what the Vikings have done or because how those teams have performed lately, where KC's lost 2 home games in a row and Dallas has lost 3 straight games?
It's both things. And now, so off that game and Cousins' performance, here's the one thought, though. Kirk Cousins can beat. So if you put Kirk Cousins' play into bins, all right? Bin 1, bad teams.
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins beats those teams.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk Cousins is
most of the time.
Yeah. Buffalo. Now the loss to Buffalo last year was a terrible loss, but in retrospect, that defense was better than we thought at that time as well.
Yeah.
But for the most part, if you give him the Oaklands or the Atlantas or the Giants, he's going to win. All right. That's bin 1. Bin 2 was yesterday. Philadelphia. Not a dumpster fire, but not a great team. Defensive backfield banged up badly. 2 cornerbacks out. But he can win those games.
Mm-hmm.
So here's bin 3. And this is tough. I don't know what to put all of the remainder of the Vikings opponents in what bin here. But bin 3 is the question to me, and that's the Bears. Bin 3 is, okay, you showed me something against Philly. The play callers had confidence in you in that game, Danny. But now can you come back and against Chicago? Can you now take that step? And you don't have to be the star.
No.
But can you now take that step to be good enough to beat that team? Because that's what's going to make ultimately the difference here. If you can beat the team in the 3rd bin, because that's the one that I still lack faith in.
Yeah, and I think it's a fair thing to lack faith in it, but I do, like I said, I've got a little bit more faith now today than I ever have before in this offense, in Kirk Cousins, in this team. I have more faith today as we sit here doing this after that win over Philadelphia than I have any other time I've watched the Vikings in my life.
651-646-8255. Viking Ventline is the show. We're on until noon. We are in the TCL broadcast studios. 651-646-8255. Let's go to Larry. Hi, Larry. What's up, man?
Sorry, Danny. I cannot share your enthusiasm about Cousins.
Larry, you're such a downer, Larry.
Larry, I understand.
Why you gotta be a downer?
I understand. Like I said, I'm just dipping my toe in the lake of belief. I'm not jumping in yet.
Okay, well, I've been immersed as a Minnesota sports fan my entire life, so it's hard to buy into this. Now, I will say this. With weapons like Thielen and Diggs, and I get the Atlanta game was kind of an anomaly because of how bad of a start Atlanta got off to. And I know football is probably coached to the score probably more than any other sport.
Mm-hmm.
But not using, Zimmer just coming out and saying that we need to run the ball more with weapons like Thielen and Diggs. I don't understand that at all. How can you not put a focus on getting these guys the ball? And it's really, I think it's unfortunate that when the Vikings were able to go on a spending spree, that Cousins was the best available option.
Thank you, Larry. Larry, ye of little faith. Because they don't in all circumstances, well, 2 things. One is there is not, and this has been made crystal clear to me, across the board faith consistently in Cousins, correct?
Yeah.
Like, that's not hard to see.
No.
All right, that's 1. 2 is, right or wrong, in Zimmer's mind, his precious baby, which is not the offense, but his defense, can be kept off the field if you can establish the run and eat clock.
Yes.
And I'm not backing that, and I'm not even saying that's necessarily right. But in Mike's mind, what he wants is he wants a game plan that can allow his defense to rest as much as possible. And in his mind, if Cousins is coming out and throwing 2nd down, throwing 3rd down, throwing 4th down punt, his defense can't get the rest.
Yeah. And that's a concern for him. Has to be. He wants.
And I don't even know if he's right on that, but that's how he sees it.
I do understand being right on that because that's how your defense ends up getting torched. Is when they're constantly on the field, when they're playing 40 minutes a game, it's not going to go well for you. So I understand where he's
Mhm.
coming from there.
Mhm.
If that's the case, you're going to lose a lot of football games.
All right, so here's what I really liked about Sunday's game plan too. And Stefanski and Kubiak, to me, designed a game plan that worked really, really well. And we talked about it on this show. Collar did as well, which is come out with a smart game plan too.
Yeah.
Like let's see something. It doesn't even have to be different, but short passing, right?
Sure.
Let's see you try to run, because abandoning the run for the sake of that makes no sense.
Yeah.
And they weren't going to do that. But let's see you try to run. More importantly, short passes. Bang, 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 which is smart. And third of all, take some deep shots, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And here's the weird thing with Kirk. If Kirk gets off to a decent start, Danny, he's in good shape.
Yeah.
It's a confidence game. If in Kirk's mind it's firing, Kirk's fine. If in Kirk's mind it's like, oh, I didn't complete that pass and now we're going back to the run, they don't trust Kirk. They must not trust me. Here's my favorite thing among them about Sunday's game plan. Play 5. Play 5, first series of that game. Deep shot to Diggs. It didn't work.
Yeah.
It fell incomplete.
Mm-hmm.
I believe it was overthrown. And now that's the play in Chicago to Thielen that didn't work. And it was sort of like, okay, that's it for that, right?
Well, and that makes you wonder if that would have been completed, just how different that Chicago game would have been.
Absolutely. But the other thing is, and Colin and I talked about this extensively on our podcast after the game on Sunday. And this is going to sound really weird, but Danny, in some ways, you have to, if you're going to employ Kirk Cousins, you have to, as we called it, lean into the Cousins experience.
Yeah.
Which is that shot is going to miss at times, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it did. And in Chicago, it missed, and they were like, okay, that missed, now back to Dalvin. But they couldn't really run.
Yeah.
Yesterday, you missed on that shot, and I believe 2 series after that, you hit Diggs, touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
And then if I'm not mistaken, after the turnover on the next play, same thing. The point being is you stuck with it this time.
Yes.
And now that secondary for the Eagles is not very good. So sticking with it became easier.
Do you think that's why they stuck with it?
It might be, but I think the lesson to learn from that is if you are going to employ Kirk, the Cousins experience is going to come with lots of things.
Oh, yeah.
But if you pull the plug on the Cousins experience, you sort of lose him. He's sort of like a student that gets an F and you're like, you are the worst student of all. And he's like, oh, geez, nobody likes me.
Mm-hmm.
As opposed to, you know what, you got an F, kid, but we're going to give you the test again.
Yeah.
Which is a really weird thing to say about an adult who is clearing $84 million over 3 years, but it's how I feel about it.
But I think that's kind of the right way to put it. That's the way it feels. Like it feels like you need to keep Kirk actively engaged in things or it's just not going to go well. He needs to feel like he's a big part of things or he's not going to be successful.
Vikings Ventline's open as always, 651-646-8255. Let's go to our buddy. I think it's Randy in Cottage Grove. Hey, Randy. Congratulations. Big win for you yesterday.
Oh, it's a huge win, first of all. But I'm actually calling to eat a little crow.
Whoa.
I'm a big guy and I can eat it when I deserve it. And Kirk, a couple of weeks ago, I called you out. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I called you out. And everybody who knows me knows I'm a big Slaughter guy. I think that kid is a world of potential and I think we made a big time mistake. And I really, really, really loved Kyle Slaughter on this squad. So I was sour, okay? When we left Chicago, I was sour.
Okay.
That the $1 million man was playing, but he has turned it around. 2 games now, I said, you got to let it fly. And he did. He let it fly yesterday. And Zim, I don't care how long you want your defense to take a 3-day weekend to Branson and see a show. Get back out there and bruise them. Okay, there ain't. I'll tell you what, there ain't nothing better than getting on the field with a lead. Okay, if you're a defense and you got a lead, you got a pad. Who cares how long you've been sitting? You got 7 points in the rear. You're rolling now. You got 14 points. You got a big ass lead. Then they can go ahead and take a rest later. Let them nibble back in. Everyone wants to say we let people back in yesterday. No, that was just a little bit of prevent, a little bit of just come in for a landing. That game was a domination. That was a domination. Atlanta was a domination. Green Bay should have been a domination. We got hosed on that call, the PI call in the end zone.
They blew that game, Randy.
No.
They blew that game. Come on.
We got hosed in that game. We're gonna kick their ass next time we play the Packers. We're steamroll them. But I gotta say right now, the rest of this season, I see 1, maybe 2 losses. We're back on track. Kirk, you look great. Let it fly, and Jim, open up the playbook.
Randy from Cottage Grove.
That's an experience.
It's a complete experience. Much like you have to lean into the Kirk Cousins experience, one must lean into the Randy experience as well.
It was an